This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ. Missing persons cases can be so incredibly fascinating to unravel. They're confusing and sometimes scary, and in some cases make you think, if you could just find the last piece to this puzzle, we might actually solve it. And that's exactly how today's case will make you feel. This is the disappearance of Trevor Deely. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. LP Philidor, and I'm here with Jess, a.k.a. the best parking spot finder in the business.
Oh, come on.
So you know what LP Philidor is?
What does it mean?
It means the profiler.
Oh.
I am on a 19-day streak on Duolingo. Your boy is muy inteligente.
He's learning Spanish, folks. This is something that he's decided to do.
Not surprisingly, but I actually knew so much more Spanish than I realized from growing up in the Bronx. Like the first 10 lessons, I breezed through. I was like, oh, I know all this.
Well, yeah, you grew up, I think almost all of your friends are Hispanic, right? Like your most of your friends
Most of them are Puerto
Black
Rican
or Hispanic.
Well, there's a couple Dominican, yeah, everything.
You only have one white friend.
I got a couple.
One white. I'm talking about real close best friends. You have one or two white friends. I think every other one of your friends is either Hispanic or Black.
Well, in New York, you know how we grew up, we didn't really pay attention to race, me and my friends. It's just, they always made fun of me. They told me their best racist jokes. I told them my best racist jokes, and at the end of it, we'd be like, "Fuck you! Come on, let's go here."
I know that's the beauty of men. I feel like men can just do shit like that. Women are so catty and ridiculous.
Yeah. How about your parking finding skills? You know what's funny, gentlemen?
Oh,
all the other guys here. Before you got a wife or a girlfriend, I think they thought we never were able to find a parking spot.
Bro.
Because have you ever driven by a spot in the mall or when you look for a park spot to go in a restaurant and they don't go, oh, there it goes. every
Bruh,
single time.
Listen to me. I was only making a friendly suggestion, okay? Today, we went to a
Why
restaurant.
are we just saying today?
Today? Because this is what you're referring to.
You need to say our entire relationship, which is like 14, 15 years. I lose track. Just because I have a bad memory doesn't mean I don't love someone. So that's why, like, whatever. But
I'm just making friendly suggestions. I'm not telling you where to park. All I said was maybe you should go back there, and it was a nice suggestion. I wasn't being bossy.
But if you do it every time we drive,
I'm not being bossy.
How do you think what do you think happens when I'm driving?
I don't know.
You think I just put the car in park or just like, I'm going home. I can't see a spot, even though it's right there.
Who cares?
Not me.
Who cares? Who cares if I tell you to park over there? Who cares? Whatever.
Well,
I don't care.
El Pifilador does not care.
You do because you brought it up on the podcast.
You need to tell me lo siento. That means I'm sorry.
No, I'm not saying I'm sorry.
I think.
Well, this is our first episode of 2025. Our first regular episode of 2025. The last episode we released was our wrap-up episode. It came out in 2025. We didn't record it in 2025. This is our first regular episode of the new year. That's exciting. So we are going to be releasing a Start Spreading the News every month, which I'm so excited about. We're adding a third episode to the regular feed. We were weekly for a very long time in the way beginning, and then life got in the way.
Yeah.
We were weekly for like a year.
That was crazy because that's like doing a book report every week.
Yeah, we were literally working full time.
Well, I was working a lot. Did you start this when you were in school?
No, I started this when I was a nurse.
Okay, so you were working 3 days. But
I was working 3/12s, and then at one point I was working 5 days a week because I was working at 2 places. So we were both working a lot.
Oh, yeah, you was the Botoxologist.
Yeah, I was doing Botox 2 days a week. And it's crazy.
When she was Botoxing, I looked surprised all the time. I was the guinea pig.
So every year I do a Stay Fit, Stay Alive challenge. And I always do it in the month of January for our podcast listeners. So if you're interested to go to my health and fitness Instagram, it's called Stay Fit, Stay Alive. And every January I usually do a challenge. But this year, Russ and Rachel, Russ's PT, who is a beast, by the way, they called me out and they said, why does it only have to be the month of January? You always talk about how inconsistent you are. You always talk about how you go really gung-ho and then you fall off. Why don't you try to work on consistency? And they called me out and I was like, okay, giant eye roll, but you're right. Okay. Because it's important to have people tell you the truth in your life. And Rachel came up with this great idea that I have to work out 2 days a week minimum. I can do more than 2, but I can never do less than 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do it for the entire year. And then every 3 months, Russ has to buy me a gift. So that's April 1st, July 1st, October 1st, and January 1st. I get a gift. Wait, I'm not done. So I did that as my challenge this year to the podcast listeners who follow me on Stay Fit, Stay Alive. And there are a bunch of people with me. So if you're interested in joining, go to StayFit_Stay Alive and join the challenge.
I'm not buying everyone a gift.
No, he's not buying everyone a gift. You reward yourself. This is a reward program for people who are inconsistent like me. Head over to StayFit_Stay Alive if you're interested in joining my challenge. And if you don't have a spouse or someone who's going to get on board to buy you gifts, you buy yourself a gift or take yourself on a trip or do something really nice for yourself. But we're all going to work on consistency this year. That's the goal.
I like that. And the main gift to yourself is health and wellness and taking care of yourself. So you're also giving yourself the gift.
Oh, of course. Yes.
I said selfed with a T. How did that even happen?
All right.
It's these 90-minute IPAs.
Uh-oh.
I'm looking for a beer sponsor. Hit your boy up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a beer sponsor all day.
Yeah.
We love
Even
beer.
if it's St. Ives, give me them 40s. I'll drink a 40 right on camera. Give me that 40 ounce.
This month on the Patreon, We just covered the Kings of Tupelo, and it is one of the wildest documentaries I've ever watched.
It's funny.
It's funny. It's weird AF. It's on Netflix. Definitely go watch it, whether you're in the Patreon or not. Just go watch it because it's wild. And we watched it and we reviewed it, and that's on Patreon for January. And you have the patron shout out.
That's true. I do. And here they are. So here are the people that joined Patreon this week. It is a lot of you, and thank you very much.
Yeah, this is not from this week. This is from like the last 3 weeks since the last time we did an episode.
I thought we did episode 2 weeks ago.
We didn't do a patron shout out.
Oh, skimping and out pimping. All right. Here is Mandy, Perp Soul, Shelly, Lindsay, Samantha, Danielle, Carolyn, Kelly, Michelle, Allison, Taylor, Brooklyn, Callum, Jessica, Melissa, Sis, Eleanor, Natalie, Colin, Crystal, Mel, Kendall, Angel, Mimi, Denise, M, Mercy, Liz, Ashley, Ashton, Carol, Carlene, Denny, and D.S. Winston.
Yes.
So shout out to you guys. I can't crack a beer because I have a bottle, but cheers to you guys.
And I have a Mike's Hard Lemonade, a random.
Blech.
But it was in my fridge because, fun fact, my mom, a.k.a. Carrie, she loves Mike's Hard Lemonades when she drinks. That's like her drink that she drinks when she chooses to drink, which is not very often. So they've been in my fridge for about 6 months. I decided to drink one today.
She loves sweet. She loves her drink so sweet that she probably adds like a packet of stevia to that stuff. Like her sugar. I don't know. It's like her sugar tolerance is so high.
She loves sweet drinks.
Yeah, like she could drink the soda syrup from the fountain machine probably and enjoy it without like the salsa mixing in.
I was just in the mood for something sweet, so that's why I picked it.
But I'm right here.
Oh.
All right. So you guys also know we do review of the week. And this review is from Mandy, who used Ben Child's 92's phone. So shout out to you. Stole my husband's phone for this. A few weeks ago, Russ's Roe v. Wade confusion was mentioned again, and I laughed so hard that I cried. I've also officially made my husband a fan of the show. Whenever he sees a school bus, now he yells, "Cheese bus." Thanks so much for being consistent bright spot in my life for the past 4 years. Started listening back in 2021.
Wow.
Russ may grow on you like mold, but together Jess and Russ make this show like a fine wine. It's just getting better with time.
Aww.
I promise to steal more phones from family and leave more reviews. Mandy.
Aww.
So, Mandy, hopefully you reviewed us on your phone, unless you have an Android.
No, I doubt she has an Android. I'm sure if her husband has an iPhone, she probably has an iPhone. They probably have a family
Yeah,
plan.
but my friend, like, I got a friend, Onyx, who just, if everyone goes right, he goes left. So he has 4 people in his house with his wife and kids who all have iPhones, and then he wants to prove he's smarter than everyone, so he gets an Android.
Wait, all his family has iPhones and
Yeah.
he has the Android?
Yeah, so he wants to send me a picture of he took his daughter at a game, right? She hit a shot, like a 3-point shot at the basketball game. His oldest daughter had to send me the video so it doesn't come blurry. And I'm always like, who messed up your credit, bruh? Do like you and your wife have separate credit? And she's like, not on my account, bitch.
Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's really funny.
Speaking about the Roe v. Wade thing, because
that's still one of, honestly, sometimes I literally start laughing randomly throughout the day to myself because I just still can't believe.
Roe v. is a good name. Like Rover, I thought it might be like Roe v.
Next time we get a dog, we got to name it Roe v.
Roe v. And then we could name the other one Wade. Like, who are they? That's Roe v. and Wade. Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
But it made me think about, like, somebody thought I was really stupid for not knowing, like, history of
the
Philippines and who conquered it or whatever, something like that. And then it reminded me of another stupid thing I did.
Oh, okay.
How about the time I was taking meds for something. I don't know what. This is when like I was like, I was super healthy on my shit. And I took Biggie's thyroid medicine for a week straight.
And he came in so freaked out. He woke me up at 4 a.m.
It was dark
when
because I was going to work.
about to go to work. And he was like, Jess, do I have to go to the ER? And I'm like half asleep and I have to work that day. And I'm like, what is happening? And he's like, I've been taking Biggie's meds for the last week. Do I have to go to the ER? And I was like,
there's so many more dumb things that I do besides not like geographical war or whatever you would call it. I am not a geologist.
Yeah, a geographicologist.
That's too long.
Geologist is someone who studies rocks.
Or a geologist is someone, I'm like a G. and I teach it.
You're an OGeologist.
Yeah, like I'm an OG and I teach you how to do it. Kind of like the Bishop Don Juan.
So funny. You really do a lot of dumb things.
Well, see, but I could
Let's talk about how dumb you are.
I could laugh at myself. Like, I do a lot of stuff that makes myself laugh. I'm like, oh, that was so stupid.
At least you can be real with yourself.
Yeah, like taking your dog's medication for a week straight. And, I probably lost weight that week.
So funny.
Because Biggie had the thyroid.
Hypo.
Hypothyroidism. Because he was a hippo.
All right, let's get into it. Missing persons cases have long captivated our collective curiosity as humans. They're like haunting puzzles that seem to blur the line between reality and mystery. With over 600,000 people reported missing in the United States each year. Isn't that a crazy amount?
I wonder.
600,000.
I wonder what the percentage of them found is.
I know. I didn't look that up, but I will.
Because, I bet there's, people who report them missing when, they really know where they are and they're just like...
Yeah, or a runaway or whatever.
Yeah, my parents, when I was young, probably would have reported me missing if I was like, fuck this, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But I'd just be not home.
Well...
And when I said parents, I only had one.
Well, with over 600,000 people reported missing in the United States each year, the circumstances surrounding these disappearances are all very different. Some are heartbreaking, some are bizarre, and others are downright confusing. Head scratchers, as I call them. While many cases involve women and children, it's the disappearance of men that, for me, adds a totally different layer, of complexity.
Yeah.
Men statistically are less likely to be victims of violent crime or abduction, but they can vanish without warning or explanation, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The very nature of their disappearance, whether it's linked to mental health or a voluntary escape or something darker like foul play, seems to add a level of eerie unpredictability, and it makes their cases super fascinating to me to try and unravel. Way back in 2022, we covered the mysterious disappearance of Brandon Lawson. He was a 26-year-old Texas man who disappeared on August 9th of 2013 after making a frantic 911 call. Is this ringing any bells?
I never heard this case.
You were very into it.
I was.
You were very interested in this case, and we discussed it at length, all the possibilities.
It's crazy. Sometimes I watch a TV show, and I don't even remember I watched that TV show, and it's brand new to me and good again.
Well, maybe you should re-listen to that episode. It's back in 2022 for anybody else that's interested. So this, the 911 call was like the center of the case. It was really hard to understand. And during the episode, I played it twice, once at regular speed and once slowed down.
That rings a bell a little bit.
Many people have tried to decipher this call because if someone could figure out exactly what Brandon was saying, it would hold the key to knowing what happened to him. Despite a massive search effort that went on for years, no trace of Brandon was found. until 2022 when they found human remains in the area of where he was last seen.
Ah.
Well, I said that in the episode.
Oh.
Just a few weeks ago, on Christmas Day, the DNA results finally came back and confirmed that it was, in fact, the remains of Brandon Lawson.
That sucks because, like, you hope you found him, but you hope it ain't him at the same time.
Yeah, I know. It took 2 years for the DNA results to come back because they had to do it from bone. And I guess it takes longer. I don't know all the science
The
behind
DNA
it.
shop's better than that. 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years. I don't know the science behind it, but apparently when it comes to bone, it takes longer.
Hey, if there's any DNA experts, hit me up out there. I already patented the DNA shop in my mind.
Okay.
So can't nobody have it.
But his family finally has closure, and they were able to bury him, which, you know, obviously it's not ideal, but it's some type of closure for them. It has been over a decade since Brandon went missing, and he was finally found. This shows that as long as a family and friends and even the true crime community keep the cases in the forefront of people's minds, these cases can get solved. Like Brandon's case, the case I'm telling you today has a piece to the puzzle that if everyone could just figure out the details, the case may actually get solved. In Brandon's case, it was a 911 call, but in the case today, it's CCTV footage of the man that goes missing and an unidentified man in all black.
Is that like Canadian footage?
No, this actually happened in Ireland.
What does CCTV mean?
Look it up. I don't remember, but it's an acronym for like security footage.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember what CCTV stands for.
Russ, the researcher on the case. It stands for closed circuit television. It is also known as video surveillance. CCTV cameras transmit footage to a limited number of monitors rather than broadcasting to the public.
Okay, so there you go. In this case today, it's CCTV footage of the man that goes missing and an unidentified man in black. In the early hours of December 8th, 2000, a young man named Trevor Deely left a Christmas party in Dublin, Ireland.
What's the dealio?
Unaware that this simple act would become the beginning of a mystery that haunts us today. Trevor, a 22-year-old accounts clerk for the Bank of Ireland, was walking home to his apartment after a holiday party. He was last seen on CCTV walking alone through the quiet streets of Dublin. What happened next has haunted his family, friends, and investigators for over 2 decades. Trevor's disappearance has become one of Ireland's most chilling unsolved mysteries, one filled with unanswered questions, eerie footage, and a search for truth that continues to this day. Are you ready?
Yep.
So it's December 7th, 2000. Okay, the millennium just happened.
And that's when a lot of people are like, oh no, all our money is going to go away because the computers can't go from 99 to 2000.
Yeah, Y2K was crazy.
Not to me. I was like, if our world is this stupid, like, we're going to get what we deserve.
I remember Y2K, like 99, that year, 99 going into 2000.
Were you worried?
I didn't know. I was still in high school. I didn't know what to expect.
You didn't have no money, so you wasn't
Yeah,
worried.
like I was 15. Like I didn't know. I know I was 14 or 15.
So if you were 15, I was like,
You were like
18, 19.
Yeah, I think I was 14 or 15. You were like 18, 19.
That's crazy because if you're like 18, 19, well, if you're like 19, you were a 14-year-old girl or whatever, like that's weird.
It is weird.
But as an adult, like 4 years is nothing.
True. So it's December 2000. So this isn't the Y2K. This is, a year after Y2K in Dublin. The city is alive with holiday lights and Christmas cheer. Everyone's getting ready for Christmas. Trevor Deely is a quiet, reliable young man. He's very close with his family and friends. He also just started this promising career in finance because he ended up going to college for a little while, but didn't find that it was for him. So instead is older siblings were like, hey, why don't you take a class in computers? Because it's going to be beneficial for the future. It was actually really smart.
Well,
because this is the infancy of that.
True. What I encourage everyone to do is learn a trade that can't be outsourced to AI. Learn how to be a carpenter, a plumber, and all that. These are well over 6-figure jobs. Like,
oh yeah,
in New York City, you get in one of these unions, you're making $200,000 a year.
But not everybody is like that, Russ. That's only New York. Not every city is like New York with tons of labor unions and all that. So.
Well, you can make a lot of money if you have a skill.
It's true.
Because these can't be stolen by AI. Don't get me on my platform. Well, this is my platform. I was going to ask, though, how old was he? In his 20s?
22.
Oh, so he's a baby.
So he went to college for a short time, ended up leaving college, took a computer class, and loved it, and ended up getting really interested in computer sciences and IT. So he got a job in finance, working in the IT department at the Bank of Ireland. And he was in their asset management division. So this was like a new career for him. All of his coworkers and his boss even said that he was like super reliable, always on time, great model employee. And according to his family and friends, he was a person that you could count on, like someone who never missed a check-in with loved ones, someone who always made sure his loved ones and friends were okay. Like if he didn't hear from you for a couple days, he's the one that's going to call and check in with you and make sure you're good. Trevor worked for the Bank of Ireland's asset management division, and these people knew how to put on a real holiday party, okay?
Drinking Guinness all day.
The company rented out the ballroom at the Hilton Hotel. They had a full open bar, full buffet, and a live band. Like, they really did it up.
That sounds like
for
fun.
Christmas. Exactly.
Also, a little fact, because I was a bartender for a long time. If you're ever going to drink a car bomb, don't call it an Irish car bomb. A lot of Irish people find that as an insult. Just call it a car bomb.
Yes. Do not call it an Irish car bomb.
That's what I was told, because, they're like, oh, let me get an Irish car bomb. But some Irish people find that insulting.
Yeah, just call it a car bomb.
But listen, if you want to insult people, go ahead. I don't care.
Do what you want, but you risk getting cussed out by an Irish person, especially an Irish bartender.
Or a fight.
Because Irish people can fight.
I don't know if they can fight, but they're very willing.
They're very willing to fight. Just like Mexicans.
Oh, man.
They're very willing to fight.
I never
too.
met anyone that's more willing to fight than Mexicans. I used to get the cooks drunk in the kitchen. And, man, they always want... I'm like, no, bro, I don't want to fight. I gave you all the Coronas. Remember me? It's Russ.
I feel like the restaurant industry, I don't know, it's just a crazy, fun place. Okay, let's get back on track. So the night starts after work. Trevor and his coworkers decide they want a pregame, right? Before the party at a nightclub called Copperface Jack's. After hanging out there for a couple hours, the group heads to the Christmas party at the Hilton. At the party, he's surrounded by his coworkers, and despite the late hour, everything seems normal. No one at the party has any reason to think that anything is wrong. In fact, Trevor seemed like he was having so much fun. Like everyone that the cops talked to after this said, he looked like he was having a great time. He was laughing and joking. Like nothing indicated that he was going to leave or anything bad was going to happen later on in the night. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wife of crime number 1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com, wife of crime number 1 for 15% off your first order.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
At around 2:30 a.m., Trevor and a group of coworkers head to another bar because they're ready to go, right? He's 22. Like, this is what we did back then, 22. You just keep going and going and going.
We?
Well, you probably did too when you went out. Don't act like you didn't.
Nope. Your boy has an
Mr.
old...
718. You were definitely out. And then you went out to after hours. You and I went to after hours together.
But you met me... I never really did these things before.
But you and I went to after hours together. And you knew where the after hours spot was.
Because I went there once before.
I had never been there.
Yep, and you pulled me in the bathroom. And they banged on the door. It's like, you can't be in there, so go ahead.
We did
with your bad self.
We did go to the bathroom together, and we did get kicked out of the bathroom. It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a story
Blowing
for
up your
another
spot.
time. Anyway, so... At around 2:30, they all went to another bar called Buck Whaley's. And he said his goodbyes around 3:25 a.m. And he decided to head home. Now, this night in particular, the weather was horrible. It was a rainstorm with really, really intense winds. And it went on for hours. So instead of taking the 20 to 30 minute walk back to his apartment with no umbrella, he decided to stop at the office and grab an umbrella from there. But this is where things get weird, okay? At the same time that Trevor is leaving the bar and saying goodbye to all his friends, there is an unknown man wearing all black that arrives at the Bank of Ireland Asset Management building. And he is seen standing there by the employee entrance. Okay. The man is standing next to a pillar in a slightly covered area, but he has no umbrella either, and it's pouring. Trevor then shows up at the entrance and he sees the man, and they look like they're interacting for a second. And then Trevor goes into the building. Once he's in there, he stays for about 30 minutes because one of his coworkers, unfortunately for him, was stuck having to work the night shift while everybody else was out partying. So this coworker is stuck at work. Trevor goes in to get an umbrella. They see each other, they start chatting, and they decide to have like a cup of coffee or tea and talk for a little bit. And then Trevor checks his email. According to this coworker, he said Trevor seemed totally fine. He didn't seem worried about anything, and even though he had been drinking since 6 p.m., he was not trashed, okay? And I feel like when you drink for hours and hours, I don't know if you can relate to this, but sometimes when you go a really long length of time, hours and hours of drinking, you almost drink yourself sober.
No.
Yes,
No.
I've definitely done that before. Where if you start drinking at 6 and now it's 4 a.m. and you've had so much space in between drinks, like we don't know how much he drank. We don't know how many drinks he had and if he was doing shots and all that. Like he might have just been casually having drinks over the course of hours.
You're sipping a drink, yeah. But that doesn't happen to me because what I do is I go to sleep.
Well, I've definitely drank myself sober before.
That doesn't make sense.
No, I've drank myself where
scientifically.
Okay, that's the wrong way.
I'm a drinkologist.
That's the wrong way to put it.
I've served thousands,
Russ,
way more than thousands. I probably served 100,000 drinks in my life. I am a drinkologist.
Number one, okay, I was a bartender about just as long as you were. Number two, I was a 10 times better bartender than you. Number three,
fake news.
Number three, I think saying drink yourself sober is probably the wrong way to say it, but you're drinking slowly over the course of hours and hours. So on paper, right, we're like, oh, this dude's been drinking since 6 p.m. and he's 22. We would think he's trashed. But according to his coworker, he wasn't trashed at all.
Maybe
he was
the coworker,
pretty good.
The coworker might have been bombed too.
No, the coworker was working. He couldn't go to the party.
Oh. Some people are good at hiding it.
Yeah, that's true. He could have been really drunk, but been good at hiding it because he doesn't slur or something.
Yeah.
That's a true point. But according to his coworker, he didn't seem trashed. He stayed about 30 minutes, and then Trevor leaves the building and heads home with his umbrella in hand. At 4:06 a.m., and this is presumably while he's walking home, he calls his best friend, Glenn Cullen, and he leaves him a voicemail. The two of them were going to meet up while out at the bars, but they didn't end up meeting. Glenn was at home in bed at this time, so the next morning he heard the voicemail and really thought nothing of it. He said, "Hey, sorry I missed you while we were out. Hope you had a good night. Talk to you tomorrow." It was really casual voicemail, and it seemed like nothing was wrong. And this was during his walk home, okay?
Yeah.
So at 4:14 a.m., Trevor is recorded on the CCTV footage outside of the Bank of Ireland, a different location than the one he was in, okay? So Bank of Ireland has multiple locations, all right? This one is on a different street. It's at Haddington Road and Baggett Street. And this is the last known sighting of Trevor Deely. Later that morning, Trevor never made it to work, which was odd because he had never no-called, no-showed before. He was an incredibly reliable employee, but I'm sure a lot of them were hungover. I mean, this was a work night. So like they had to go back to work the next morning.
Damn.
And a lot of them were out at 4 a.m. So a lot of them were probably hungover. And people just assumed maybe he was too sick to come to work after drinking that much. Trevor had 2 roommates, but both of them were out of town. So no one knew he was truly missing yet. But as the day went on and no one heard from him at all, people started to get concerned. By 7 a.m. the next morning, Trevor's family and friends were completely panicking. Searches were conducted across Dublin through the streets, parks, and canals. Even the waters of the River Liffey were combed for signs of Trevor, but nothing turned up. No body, no trace of Trevor's phone, not a single clue to explain what happened. So now I'm going to show you the CCTV footage, and then we're going to talk about it, okay?
Copy.
Okay, so let's talk about this footage that we just watched, right? Okay. So we saw a man show up to the entrance. This is the employee entrance, by the way. And he's wearing all black, right? From what we can tell in the video. And
everything looks black in the videos because
well,
it's black and white. So
yeah.
Either they're wearing black, white, or gray.
Yeah. So he shows up. He's standing by that pillar for a while. Mind you, it is storming. He's not like under anything.
True. Now, this could be a disgruntled employee. I wonder if there's been any fired employees recently that are pissed off.
So they went through and spoke to all the employees, and no one has any idea who this man is. So the two of them interact for a minute or two. It seems fine, right? Like it doesn't look hostile or weird. And then you see him leaving the building. Then we see him on a different footage with the umbrella up. And then he's walking down the street and you see a man in black follow him after he walks by.
He's drunk as a skunk walking home.
How do you know that?
All right. I've been drunk as a skunk on this podcast and in real life.
Uh-huh.
And if I walk, so he was supposed to be walking straight. He ends up walking left towards the buildings, and before he's off the camera, he ends up walking right again.
So you saw him swerving when he's walking.
Swerving in the Suburban.
Yeah. And then you see a guy walk behind him a couple seconds later.
Yeah, so I've never walked like that when I was sober.
Okay, makes sense.
As a professional drunkologist.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I know drunk when I see drunk. It's like if you're a professional piano player, you know if someone else is a professional piano player.
So what difference does it make that he's drunk? Like, why does that make a difference? Do you think that someone would see that and be like, oh, he's drunk, let's take advantage of him?
Possibly, but you also told me that people said he wasn't drunk. So you made that a point as well early on.
I said his coworker said he wasn't trashed. Like,
all right, we're not talking about the level of drunk.
Yeah, like
we don't have a drunkometer.
But you can be drunk and still functional. You can be drunk and not be a complete disaster. This man seen on the CCTV footage became the focal point of the investigation. Was he just a passerby, or did he have something to do with Trevor's disappearance? The footage is grainy, but it was released to the public anyway, in hopes that someone might recognize him or know who it possibly could be.
Because if it's not him, you could at least ask him questions.
What do you mean if it's not him?
If the dude didn't do anything, the dude in all black,
oh yeah,
you could at least question him.
Yeah, because he was the last person seen near the person who's missing.
Exactly. And a lot of times when people go missing, like men in a situation like this, my first thought always goes to, do they stumble in the street and get hit by a car or something?
Yeah, but like wouldn't emergency services possibly be? I mean, even if it was a hit and run, someone would see his body.
Yeah, because if it's a hit and run, the body is left right there.
Exactly. So the footage was released to the public, but unfortunately, no substantial leads came in, and the man remained a mystery. Despite numerous pleas for information, no one could identify him. He was simply a stranger in the night.
There's basically a shadow, though. No one can tell who that is.
It's true.
It could have been me. And
no,
obviously it wasn't me.
No, it's totally hard to figure out who it could possibly be. But this case had so many things in it that worked against Trevor. Okay, first of all, the cab drivers in Dublin were on strike. Okay, so at the time, it was pouring rain, but the cab drivers were all on strike, so he couldn't call a cab. And that's why he had to walk home in the pouring rain. His two roommates, both of them were out of town. So no one even knew he was missing until his coworkers kind of either called one of his friends or family later in the day when he didn't show up to work. And the third thing was that Bill Clinton, the president of the United States, came to town later that day, meaning that the Secret Service was there and law enforcement was completely distracted by the president's visit. So there's no indication that he ever made it back home. All right. According to police, his clothes, cell phone, wallet, and even the umbrella were never found and not found at his home. His family, heartbroken and desperate for answers, continued to call for the case to remain open. They kept Trevor's picture in the media, hoping that someone would come forward with information about the man in black. That's what they started dubbing him, the man in black.
That's Johnny Cash.
Trevor Deely, Trevor's sister, became one of the most visible faces of the case. She was in tons of interviews, begging the public for any help they can offer to keep her brother's case alive.
Respect.
The case remained a mystery for years, but then in 2005, the footage was re-released with technological advancements because they made it a lot clearer. So the footage you saw is actually the clearer version. So imagine, 5 years earlier, they released the really grainy footage. So of course, no one was going to be able to figure out who that person was.
Yeah, it probably looked like he was watching it drunk.
So over time, the investigation seemed to stall. And even though this new footage was released, no one could identify this guy. And every lead turned cold. There were rumors and whispers and theories, some suggesting that Trevor had been abducted, others wondering if he just wandered off and had a tragic accident or fell into the River Liffey because he was drunk.
That reminds me of the Happy Face killer we spoke about.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting because that case, Happy Face killer, we've never covered that case. We've just spoken about it.
Really? I thought we did a podcast on that.
No. We've never covered it. We've just talked about it, but it is interesting, like young men drunk ending up in a river.
No,
Because
you know
they
what we did?
fell in.
We did bring up that it's a possible someone died in one of the podcasts, and we did bring up that it's possible that they were a victim of the happy face. We didn't do a whole happy face thing, though.
Yeah, we just talked about it. And, you know, people have had that as a theory in this case. Another thing in this case that's people bring up, but to be honest, like, I don't even want to take time to talk about it that much because I don't think it's related whatsoever. But people talk about it in a lot of podcasts, and when you find coverage of this case, there was a girl that Trevor was interested in. She was visiting Ireland, and they kind of hit it off. They talked for a little while, and then she left, and she's from Alaska, all right? So, like, literally across the world, like the farthest from Ireland you can be. He and her kept, like, calling each other and I guess texting, because back then texting existed. And
Wait, what year was this?
2000.
Oh, yeah, of course, texting.
But it was like you had to go through the letters, like do.
No. Oh, yeah, because it's
2000.
2024. It's 20 years ago.
24 years ago,
Yeah,
yeah.
24. Oh, I was just thinking I knew you in 2000, but I did not.
No, you did not. I was 14. We talked about that in the beginning.
Yeah.
So he met this girl. They kept talking. He really wanted to go to Alaska to visit her. She told him, nah, bro, like, I'm not into that.
I was conceived in Alaska, from what I was told.
Yeah, you were conceived in Alaska. She pretty much said, nah, like, I'm good. You don't need to come visit me. Like, I actually never need to see you again. Because she just visited Ireland for a short time, wasn't into it.
So she was just like, listen, we only had sex 1 or 2 times. Relax, bro.
Well, see, none of his friends and family ever met her. They just heard him talk about her. So I don't know the extent of what they did in Ireland. But whatever they did, he decided to buy a ticket and fly his ass to Alaska, even though she didn't want him to come.
In the words of your favorite artist of all time, I'm sprung.
Seriously. So he went
That's T-Pain, folks. This is Mrs. Pain I'm with. She's only with me because she's never bumped into T-Pain.
up. You're so stupid.
Listen, if T-Pain walked in here right now, she'd walk right out the door with him. I'd be stuck paying this mortgage alone. I'd have to start a GoFundMe or I'd be homeless.
I would never do that. Shut up. So he went to Alaska, and clearly she didn't want him to come. And I'm sure it was weird. And so some people bring this up as like, could it be somebody from Alaska who knew the girl? No, I think it's a dumb theory. No one's going to fly all the way across the world to go after a dude that came from Ireland that this girl wasn't even interested in. Like, people say, oh, was it her ex-boyfriend or something? No. Ain't nobody got time for that. No one's flying across the world.
How would he even know what's going on? They didn't even have... Did they have iPhones back then? If they did, they were too slow. There's no pictures on the flip phones.
So that's one of the theories people bring up, but I think it's dumb. It's not even worth going into, but I ended up going into it anyway. None of these theories could explain the eerie footage or absence of any clear evidence. In 2017, the police made a final push to solve the case. They released an enhanced version of the footage, hoping that someone might recognize the man from the streets of Dublin. And finally, in December of 2023, some progress was made.
No way.
Yes.
With those pictures.
With that footage.
That's like me identifying my shadow.
Yes, but you knew where you were at certain times. You might know, oh yeah, I was walking down the street on this day at this time. That's clearly my outfit. That's me because I was there.
Oh, so someone knew it was them.
Well, let's see. I'm going to talk about that.
You know, don't say let's see.
Police were able to identify the man seen walking behind Trevor down the street in the last footage of him, the one on Haddington Road. Okay. After investigating this man, though, they ruled him out and assured the family and the public that he had nothing to do with this. But what they also found out is that the man walking behind Trevor in that footage is not the same man who was standing at the gate of the first footage.
Oh.
For a long time, police believed that these two were the same person. They believed that this person followed him, that he saw him at the employee entrance, and then 7 minutes later, they followed him all the way to the other branch.
Which I was also led to believe.
The man standing outside the Bank of Ireland has yet to be identified, and cops still wonder if he had something to do with Trevor's disappearance. There are some theories about what could have happened to him, like we talked about. Some people believe he fell into the River Liffey. He was drunk, walking home, and accidentally fell in the water. And this isn't unheard of.
They would have found him.
However, they probably would have found him because a dive team did search the waterways and nothing was found.
Oh, in my mind, a river isn't like that deep and just keeps flowing. So
they're still deep. The Hudson River, that's a river.
That's true.
Yeah. Friends and family also, and this is really important, and this shows he probably wasn't in the river, and this is huge to me. Friends and family called Trevor's phone after he was discovered missing, which would have been almost an entire day later, and his phone rang and rang, indicating it was not turned off. This is the year 2000. If it had fallen into water, the phone would have died immediately. Like, they weren't... Like, nowadays, your phone gets submerged in water. It can last a little bit. Back in 2000, I think I had a Nokia phone in, 2002. Those shits, they died if a little water sprinkled on them.
You was playing snakes?
Probably. So, he had a phone from back in the day. If that was submerged in water, it wouldn't have kept ringing a whole entire day later. Another theory is that he disappeared on his own, which you have to mention it, I guess, but I don't buy it. There's no indication that he was going to leave and start a new life.
And also because he probably didn't have the financial means to do that.
He was making good money. Well, the thing about it is, too, there was no indication also because he was incredibly close with his siblings, his family, his friends. He called his friend, left that voicemail. Hey, I'm sorry we didn't see each other. I'll talk to you tomorrow. There was no indication at all that he was going anywhere to start a new life.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times when you're drunk, you're in your feelings, you're calling people, telling them I love you.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
This wasn't even like that, though. This was like a, hey, I didn't see you out. I'll see you tomorrow.
Same thing. That's how guys say they love each other. I didn't see you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Same thing. We just don't tell it isn't like women where women just tell each other they're in love with each other.
We do.
It's so weird. Jess and her friend, you think that
Me and Rosetta.
It's very gay. It's like, and not in gay is bad, but they talk to each other like they're gay.
We love each other very much. Some people believe that he had a drug debt. No one has ever confirmed that he did do drugs, but the finance world can be full of things like coke. We know that. So some people have theorized.
I've just heard.
Yeah, we've heard. It's a reputation. It's like the same in the bar business. The bar business is full of alcohol and coke. And finance is the same. A lot of them do coke so they can stay awake because it's a very demanding job, and it's just kind of a reputation that it has.
Well, that reminds me of a story that I once told here, but it was so long ago I could tell it again. I'm at the bar, and someone asked me if I party, and I was like, nah, I don't really go out that much because I'm bartending.
Well, a lot of people, I don't even know if that's a thing people say anymore about coke. Is that a thing? When you go, because for us and our generation of going out, when you go up to somebody and say, hey, do you party? It means you do coke.
I didn't know that. I'm just like, nah, I don't really go out that much.
I knew that just because working in the bar business. I've never done coke, but it's something that everyone knows. That's what you say.
I know that.
It's hilarious.
Oh,
this is a Roe v. Wade moment for you.
Yeah, there's so many that I'm just like, no, not really.
How did the person respond? Did they say okay? Or did they explain what
I don't know. He also was a man with a ponytail, so... You could never trust those. If you have a ponytail and you're a man, you gotta cut that shit, bro.
Cut it out.
Yeah, remember they'd be like, cut it out.
So some people believe that he may have owed money to a drug dealer. In 2017, they had a jailhouse snitch informant who told police that Trevor was killed because of a drug deal gone wrong. He told them his body was buried in a field. So police took this seriously, and they went and they dug up that field.
As they should, but you could never believe a jailhouse snitch without finding evidence, because they're always just trying to get time knocked off for their sentence.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We know that they're not reliable. And they found drugs and a gun, but no sign of Trevor or any of his belongings. The first man in black, who is he? Why was he there? They spoke to each other briefly, but it didn't look hostile, and no one knows what they said. As of now, the case of Trevor Deely's disappearance is still open, and police continue to appeal the public for information, hoping that someone, somewhere, might hold the key to solving this mystery. His family, particularly his sister Neve, has never stopped searching for answers. In 2023, Neve told the press that she still holds out hope that Trevor's case will one day be solved. This is one of the biggest and most famous missing persons cases in Ireland. Like with all missing persons cases, one of the scariest and sobering realizations we always come to is that someone somewhere definitely knows something.
True.
And that's really scary when you think about it.
And that person's probably still out there.
That person is out there. And even if it's not the person who committed this crime against this poor kid, somebody that knows that person, someone out there might know what happened to this guy.
He seemed just like an average young dude who drinks and works, and there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and he seemed like, from all accounts from his friends, he seemed like a good friend. His best friend, Glenn, imagine, I feel really bad for his best friend, Glenn, because if you put yourself in his shoes and you imagine, you got a phone call at 4:06. This is exactly the time he's walking home. Something happened to him right after this phone call, and you missed the call because you were sleeping. And you wake up and you hear this voicemail, and you have to now live with the fact that what if you picked up the phone and you guys had a conversation? Maybe somebody wouldn't have ended up hurting him because he would have been talking on the phone, and it made him less of an easy target. Because when you're on the phone, or maybe if someone did mess with him, Glenn would have heard the situation over the phone and could have called police right away.
As a friend, you do blame yourself in a situation like that. You think of all the things I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
But in no way was it your fault.
Of course not.
Because he was calling you at 4 a.m. Most people don't pick up their phones at 4 a.m. Even if you're a good friend, you're probably like, oh, he's drunk.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him in the morning.
I know. All I was saying is I just can't imagine being in his best friend's shoes, because I would definitely...
I would
definitely question and be like, oh my God, if I would have just answered the phone.
See, I wouldn't, you can't do that too much if you acted the way you would normally act.
Yeah.
All right, it's 4 a.m. Who picks up their phone?
So it's interesting.
I would only pick up the phone for certain people at 4 a.m. First of all, my phone's probably on silent because I don't want to be bothered.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain people you would pick up the phone for at that age. At this age, no one gets a pickup.
But at that age, that was his best friend.
Certain people get a pickup. But, the only way I'd get a phone call at that time would be like, oh my goodness, we're getting into a fight. Can you come help us?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, Jesus Christ, all right, I'm getting up. Give me a second. But that's how we acted when we were young. You know what I mean? Or hey, my car broke down, or can you come get me? And there was no text messages because we're old folks.
Like I said earlier, there were so many factors working against Trevor this night, because his best friend said in multiple interviews that he normally always sleeps with his phone next to him, but he left his phone charging in the kitchen by accident because he put it on the charger when he got home. He was drunk and he passed out in his bed and he left the phone in the kitchen, which he doesn't typically do. And in addition to the roommates being out of town, in addition to the cab drivers being on strike, in addition to this storm happening, that he had to take this 30-minute walk, go back to work, and then get an umbrella, and then take this 30-minute walk. Like, all these factors worked against this kid.
They obviously questioned the roommates, right?
Of course, yeah. They were out of town. They had alibis.
Damn.
So this case is super interesting. I will post the footage. I'll post a link to the footage because I don't know if I can actually post the footage. Or you can just go to YouTube and look up Trevor Deely's footage, CCTV footage.
That's what you got to do, folks.
So if you go on YouTube, you can look up the footage. I'll try to post it. Either way, you can definitely find it online. This case is infamous in Ireland, and it's crazy. And I honestly really hope one day it gets solved. Like, I wish they could figure out who this dude was who was standing outside. I feel like, just like in the Brandon Lawson case that I talked about in the beginning, this is like the one piece to the puzzle that's missing. And if they just found it, it could solve the case.
I wonder if that's the guy. But if not, they could still ask him, like, hey, what were you guys talking about? There's just no way to find out at this point, though, who that person is.
It could be found out.
How?
Because maybe that person, I don't know, maybe that person could come forward. Maybe somebody that knows that person knew that they were there at that time. I don't know.
They would have came forward already.
Russ.
They would have came forward already.
Brandon Lawson's
This
case.
was 20 years ago.
People thought Brandon Lawson's case would never get solved. And it took years.
You need, like, DNA evidence for cases, I feel, that are, like, 25 years old.
But they could find DNA evidence. They looked in the area that it sounded like Brandon Lawson was in at the time, and they found his remains. So it can happen.
True.
And I think it's important. That's why missing persons cases are so important to talk about, because keeping their story out there, you know, since someone somewhere does know something, keeping the story out there could make a path to solving it.
Yeah, that's a good point, that someone out there in the world does know something.
It's scary when you think about it like that.
That's true.
Like, what if they're listening right now? Like, someone knows something out there, and they've definitely seen the footage on TV. They've definitely seen the news in Ireland, people talking about it. This is a huge case over there. Like, it's kind of crazy. What are you thinking about when you see this and you know something and you're not calling anybody, or you're the person that did it and you're just watching everyone talk about it? It's kind of creepy.
Well, I assume that this person commits a lot of crimes.
Whoever did it, yeah.
This isn't just, oh, I saw a drunk dude, I killed him.
No, it's...
There's more to that.
Yeah.
This person has a deeper, dark past or presence in life. Like, that's just what they do.
I just wonder, like, okay, they've never identified this guy who was standing there. That's why I feel like he has to be involved, because if you're the person who's there and you know that this is like the biggest case in your country and the whole country is talking about it, it's like a huge deal, right? Everybody knows this case, and you know you were there and you had nothing to do with it, right? You have nothing to do with this dude's disappearance, but you actually interacted with him and you're like one of the last persons to have seen him. And you don't, like, you would have had to come forward and say, hey, that's me.
Okay, I see.
We talked about it. We talked about this, and that. I was the last person to see him. That's it. Like, you would think that. So I feel like that means that this person has to be involved.
He might be in jail right now.
For something else.
And it's like, what's the benefit to this criminal saying I did this, unless they're getting time off a sentence or something like that?
Yeah. I know they might be in jail already, but it's just interesting. These types of cases, like, they make me like ruminate. Like, I just think and think and think of like all these possibilities. Like, that's why missing persons cases fascinate me so much, because I ruminate on them. I've been thinking about this case for like the last 2 weeks. Like, I just keep Googling things and looking things up and wondering and thinking, who could this be? Who could, all that.
See, I'm not much of a ruminator.
I'm a giant ruminator.
So you'll be back.
Not Terminator, ruminator.
That
If you have anxiety, you know what I'm talking about.
a ruminator sounds like a vacuum that vacuums your house on its own.
Well,
Oh, that's a good one. Someone should take that.
No, ruminating is something that you do in your mind when you think about something over and over and over and you obsess. If you have anxiety, you are a ruminator. You don't have anxiety, hence you don't ruminate.
No, but someone should create a ruminator that cleans the room.
Oh.
It's a better use of the word.
I mean, it's a pretty good use how it is.
No, that's whack.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was our case, and it's a crazy one. Definitely a head scratcher. And I hope one day. No, I really hope one.
I was just thinking of a head scratcher. I think of someone literally scratching their head.
No, like a head
about it.
scratcher. Like, you know, like it really does make you wonder. And I really hope one day, for his family's sake, it gets solved, because this kid seemed like a cool kid.
No, I hope so too. Even if he was an annoying person and he wasn't a bad person.
No, he just
whether he's an annoying person or a cool person, I hope they find out.
He was very well loved by so many people, so it's just really sad. And you know, as long as we keep talking about these types of cases, hopefully they can, you know, it can lead to something. I think it's important. All right, well, check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod, and Facebook at Wife of Crime, The Crime Family, and Patreon at Wife of Crime, The Crime Family. And
wifeofcrime.com if you need cool stuff to wear because you're not a fashionista like me.
And you know what? We really need to re-up our merch. So I was thinking, you guys should comment some of your favorite quotes from the show. And then me and Russ will look at them, and then we'll talk about possibly using them on some merch. We did You Don't Want This Smoke. We made that one into a sweatshirt, and that turned out really good.
Woke Up Dead turned into a thing, even though Jess tried to shit on me.
Yep, Woke Up Dead turned into a thing.
It was basically like, what's that show? Fetch is never gonna be a thing.
Mean Girl.
She did that to me multiple episodes. Woke Up Dead is never gonna be a thing. And she rolled her head and her eyes and her nose.
You were so
she rolled her nose like Bewitched.
Yeah, I definitely did not.
Look, you just did it. You just did it.
I definitely did not, though, about that. So anyway, we are gonna take some of, you know, tell us your favorite quotes from the show. We've already made a lot of quotes into merch. We have literally, I think it's so amazing that we have inside jokes with hundreds of thousands of people. It's like the most amazing thing ever to me in my life. And some of our inside jokes will become merch. So tell us what you like.
And one of my wishes to you folks is, if you can't find a parking spot, may your wife be with you to help you.
God, shut up. All right. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Peace.